We're here with Monica and Brandalin, and we're going to kick off, Monica, with you. If you wouldn't mind, just do a brief introduction. Tell us a little bit about you and your family before we go into the details of your story.
Okay. My name is Monica Johnson. I'm from Marlin, Texas. My kids attended Marlin ISD in Falls County, where my daughter was ranked #1 last year. And I'm coming to you to tell my story because I need help. We do need a inspector general for our schools in order to help us get the program where it should be. Um, on April 26th, they had a senior meeting with the counselor, and it was supposed to tell the counselor tells you where position you're in, and where you stand for graduation. Me and my daughter attended that meeting with the counselor, Mrs. Clifton, and at that time, she told me that my daughter had did everything that she needed to do in order to graduate. And by her saying that, I asked her, so what rank is my daughter? And at that time, she told me that my daughter was ranked #1 still by the guidelines that they go by. So after that meeting, I started preparing for graduation. My daughter started practicing on her valedictorian speech. And so we were happy, excited. Then I say May 19th, the principal came and told her that she may not be unofficial the valedictorian, which that was on a Friday, I believe. I had to wait that following Monday, May 22nd, to call to the school to see what changed from April 26th when I met with the counselor and told me that my daughter was ranked #1, she was valedictorian. So I called, and Miss Clifton informed me that when she spoke with me, my daughter was ranked #1. She said, but between that time, Dr. Henson and Dr. Parker had changed and recalculated the grade, which put my daughter in #3. So that was the only contact that I had. Superintendent or Miss Parker, neither one of them ever reached out to me. So here it is, my like shocked, traumatized. My daughter is crying because she doesn't know she did anything wrong. You know, it was very devastating for us. Then Mr. Henson, he had called a meeting for all the parents, the whole city and everything. I think it's May 24th, 2023. And in that meeting is where he explained to the recalculation of the grade. Okay. And at that time, I was asking him, like, why is it a different recalculation? Because what I've been keeping up with my daughter her whole high school year, it was the same. And what me and the counselor have been looking towards the whole senior year was the same. At that time and at the meeting, that's where he explained that they did not add certain classes, and some classes were added that shouldn't have been added. Okay. So he said he was going to recalculate the grade. I was upset at that meeting. I'm not going to say I wasn't, because I was. I was very upset. And I told him that me and my daughter had been going by your school policy and what y'all had in place set up for her to do the whole senior year. So how can you tell me now that that's no longer, And I was very upset with that. So I made a complaint. My first complaint was June 7th, 2023. That was the complaint about changing her rank. And he had gave me a hearing too. Hearing two was June 13th, which at that meeting, again, we went over asking him, like, why was it changed? And he was basically telling me that, it wasn't calculated right. Some classes was added that shouldn't have been added. Some classes wasn't put on that should have been there. And like I told him, what you're telling me is that you didn't have your principal, counselor, and teachers on the same page, because I've been keeping up throughout the whole year. So what we were going by, the guidelines we were going by, I knew we were going by the correct guidelines, what I was told at that time, all the way up until he changed it 6 days before graduation. I made that complaint, and then I didn't agree with what his outcome. So what was it, June 28th? That's where I requested a level 3 hearing because of that purpose. That was my first complaint. Okay. My second complaint I had put in June 11th, 2023, and the hearing was July 13th, 2023. I didn't agree to his decision on that because the complaint was about Dr. Henson and Chief Simmons. That he had called a mandatory meeting for 9th through 11th grade the day after the senior meeting, okay? To get everybody on track, to show them what classes they need to be taking and things like that. Like I said, I have 2 children, so I went with my son. And when we got there, I sat down, and he started the meeting off by saying, why is not the news cameras here today? And I stated, they're not here because you lied to them the last time. Why would they come back? He then got upset at the fact that I stated that, and he started mocking me by changing my daughter to number 3. He repeated, number three is the best place to be. Number 3 is the best place to be. And he said it a few times, and I caught on to it. And I told him, I said, yes, you did change her to number 3. I say, but it's not going to prevent her from going to Texas A&M. At that time, he had Chief Simmons to come over, and I was trying to record because he was taunting me. And Chief Simmons was making me put my phone down, which he had stated in the beginning of the meeting that he doesn't want anybody recording anything, which I thought was strange because it's a public meeting. So there, I was ready to record because I felt like it was going to be something that needed to be recorded, and it was. He was taunting me, and he sent Chief Simmons over to make me put my phone down several times. And I was telling Chief Simmons, you should be telling him that that's against the law. I have a right to tape this meeting. And this is at the very beginning. He hadn't said anything about the children's grades or anything about the school. This is at the very beginning. He had chiefs come over and escort me out of the meeting. So I went home after he escorted me, and at the meeting, and I say the next couple of days, it was June 1st, he got officers to come to my house with a citation. And when I opened up the door, I was like surprised that police was at my house, and they were trying to, get me to sign this citation. And I was like, why am I signing citation when I hadn't did anything wrong? And they were telling me that Chief Dr. Henson no longer wanted me on the campus. And so I signed it at the time because I was like, what? How is he able to do this? Like, how? So after that happened, I called Chief Simmons, and I have a recorded conversation between me and Chief Simmons when I called him. And I asked him, how does a person able to get a citation against someone that has not threatened them in any type of way, did any harm to anyone in any type of way? And he stated that I made a statement that said, if my daughter is not number 1, we'll see what happens. And I told Chief at that time, I said, that's not what I said. I said, those words did not come out my mouth like that. And he was like, yes, you did. And I was like, no, sir. I say, so what do I do next? He's like, well, you have to, go through the hearing process or whatever like that. So, okay. I go through that hearing process. That's my second complaint about Dr. Henson and Chief Simmons making me put my phone down where I'm not able to record the meeting. And in that hearing, I stated what they did by, making me put my phone down, making everybody put their phone down, and I couldn't record him taunting me. In the summary, I asked for him and Chief Simmons to be reprimanded. I wanted them reprimanded. That's what I wanted in that. And he denied me. So after he denied me, I left the building. I hadn't even got in my driveway good yet, and Dr. Henson was calling me. Again, I can't trust him, so I started to try to hurry up and get my phone so I can record what he was telling me. And what he said was that he's not going to let my daughter miss out on what she's supposed to miss out on, that he's going to basically change it in more words than one, say, make it look like it may have been a tie, may not have been a tie, where he could change my daughter back to her rank number 1. And he told me that he was going to let me know that decision June 19th. But he didn't let me know June 19th. I think it was June 21st when I actually called and asked, like, what was the decision. And at that time, they told me to come up to the school to pick up her transcript. When I got to the school and picked up her transcript, he had changed her back to number 1. So, of course, I was happy, thankful. I went and made a copy so I could send it to Texas A&M because they were needing that. They were asking for it. And after that, I told him that I still wanted the level 3 hearing. That was June 28th. I requested the level 3 hearing. And I waited. I asked him, can I get a hearing date? I kept on emailing him. Then I say September the 1st is when he first reached back out and said he scheduled a hearing for September the 11th. Okay. At that time, my lawyer, I was unavailable. So now I'm still waiting for a level 3 hearing for about my daughter rank and about him being reprimanded for taking my rights away by making me not be able to record him while he was taunting me for changing my daughter to rank to number 3.
Wow. And this is just quite a story, and all this changing of things, and she's supposed to be 1 and taunting. This is really shocking, and I can imagine that was a big challenge both for you and your daughter. So where is your daughter now, and how has this affected her?
Well, my daughter, she's at Texas A&M. She's attending Texas A&M, and it had really traumatized her. You know, my daughter had to see a therapist after this. She's had maybe 3 or 4 visits with the therapist, talking to her. She also has counselors on her campus that she goes and sees. He really depressed her in a very bad way where she's already a sensitive type of person. So it really has traumatized her, and it made it hard for her to be able to do, like, oh my God, I'm just sorry. She's been very emotional with her classes because now she's in college, and of course things are a little bit more harder, but she was already depressed going from what he's taken her through to her having a brand new life in Texas A&M, which the whole campus is bigger than Marlin, you know. So it has made her struggle, and she's been seeing, like I said, different counselors and advisors there on campus to try to help her through.
So when looking back at your story and everything that you all have gone through, how would things have played out differently if you had a path where you could raise this up to an inspector general, an independent party versus the school district?
That, I believe that would have helped me tremendously, because once he realized I knew what had happened and I knew the truth about the change, it's like he had no respect, no empathy, or anything for me. So by that barrier being there, where now we have an attitude towards each other, nothing that should be getting done is getting done because you're so upset and you're retaliating against me because I'm doing what a parent's supposed to do. I'm taking you through the hearings. And as I'm taking you through the hearings, I'm telling you how I feel. Then you go back and you change or your statement to what I stated. you will make it look like what I'm telling the person is not true. So for a superintendent to have that type of position and do that, it's very scary because I still have a sophomore. My son is a sophomore. He's still going to that school. So that's very scary for me. And I have to send my kids to school every day. If I don't send them to school, then I get in trouble. You get what I'm saying? So for me to send my child to him and then him do and make the moves that he made, it's very scary. And I feel like when we had an inspector general, I could have spoke with him and told my complaints to, and he could have looked into what I was saying at that time and got everything back on course without the anger that happened between me and Dr. Henson. He doesn't like me and I don't care for him. So once that is established, it needs to be someone else that's in between and say, hey, this is what needs to be done. This is what should have been done. And this is not right. And I believe in general would help with that.
And I'll just add that that's especially true given the fact that we don't have a board. We have a very passive board. And whereas in most school districts, we actually have a board of managers. And so instead of a board of trustees, because Marlin is under the conservatorship of the Texas Education Agency. So the way that I think of the Texas Education Agency is now they're the parent or the guardian of Marlin. So they appointed the board members as opposed to having elected board members. However, the board members are very hands off. And so Dr. Henson has his way and he has a tendency, and in our experiences, he has definitely abused his powers.
Yeah. So what, Monica, is in closing here as we wind this down, if other parents, if you could give some advice to another parent who's facing something similar to what you've been going through with the lessons that you've learned going through all of this, what kind of advice would you give that parent?
Make sure they keep all documentations of their students' grades, any letters that's being sent from the school if something's changing. Still try to keep a good rapport with the counselor of the school, you know. But even though I say that, it's kind of hard for any of us to get anywhere when you have a superintendent that's over everything and they're working against you on purpose.
Mm-hmm.
Like that makes it all hard. So that's when the inspector general, that's when we really do need that. Because if we can't get the superintendent to listen and actually held himself accountable to his mistakes, as in not making sure that your principal, your counselor, and your teachers are all going by the new policy, then, you know, what can we do? We need help.
Yeah. Too much power in there. So my final question here, if you're sitting across the table from Governor Abbott, what would you like to say to him? What would you like him to know?
We need help. We need an inspector general. We need someone that we can talk to and not have a set mind. Make sure he's open-minded to both sides. I don't want anybody to just take my side. I want you to listen to my complaints, see what I'm complaining about, go to the school, do checks to see if I'm telling you the truth. And if I am, I want you to correct it. And we need that. We need inspector general, because when you have a superintendent that's not doing their job correctly, that messes up the whole school. And Marlin ISD, we need a whole new administration. A whole new administration. We have people that were going along with the superintendent and doing things along with him. We need a whole clean new administration, and we need someone to help us get that. When they see a problem, we should be able to go to the inspector general. He should be able to go do his investigation, and the problem should be fixed there. Instead of us going through the hearings that superintendent has us going through, and he puts it off month after month, I've been waiting. This happened all the way in June. And that's why I say this is so terrifying and a traumatic experience for me and my daughter, which is still not over.
Yeah.
What I would say to him is that we do need an inspector general and we need help.
Thank you. Monica, thank you so much for sharing your story. And as you guys are both in the same school district, let's pivot over to Brandalin now. So would you mind, Brandalin, just give us an introduction, tell us a little bit about your family, and then we'll dive into your story.
Sure. So my name is Brandalyn Jones, and I am a native of Marlin, Texas. I graduated. I'm a high school grad. I graduated from Marlin in 1996. Marlin is my hometown. I have two sons. My eldest son is named Prayer Jones. My second son is named Adai Jones, and they both attended Marlin High School last year. My husband, I do have a husband. I'll go ahead and mention him. He's very supportive. And so we were living in Humble, Texas. But we had been living in Humble for about 4 years. And my sons had gone through different schools. So they had attended Kingwood, school in Kingwood, Texas, and then Humble. But my oldest son, he started elementary in Marlin, and he really wanted to come back to graduate from his hometown. And so we moved back to Marlin. And I'm gonna say that we honestly did. We moved back in 2021, the fall of 2021. We had no, the fall of 2022. We had no issues with the school district up until May 22nd, 2023 is when my son called me and told me, my oldest son called me, and by the way, he was the class president. He called me and he said, Mom, Dr. Henson called us all into the auditorium and told us the graduation was canceled. We're not having graduation anymore. And I asked him why. And he said, because only 5 students are eligible to graduate. And I said, really? I said, how is that possible? And the Friday before, you all just had a great time in Six Flags on your senior trip. So they had just gone to Six Flags and enjoyed each other. Prior to the week of them going to Six Flags, the parents had a meeting in the auditorium where the principal gave the students and parents a sheet. It was like a graduation audit, and it showed that you're on track. You're ready to graduate. I still have not a die, excuse me. I still have prayers. Monica, you probably still have your child's letter stating that she was ready to graduate. The class of 23 was 38. We only had 38 students, so it was a very, very small class. So it was very surprising that only 5 were ready to supposedly eligible to graduate and had met state standards. But by all accounts, that meeting that we had prior to the superintendent counseling the meeting, they were on, most of them, if not all, were on track and ready to graduate. And that was later confirmed after he counseled the graduation by the counselor. Her name is Denise Clifton. She actually shared with me that the students were in fact eligible to graduate, and she still to this day, this was shared in writing with me, she does not know why he decided to cancel the graduation. But going on with prayer, that was on the 22nd. Graduation was scheduled for May the 25th. Well, my son had his classmates asking, what's going on? I have relatives here from Mexico. I have relatives here from Dallas. They're all here ready, waiting for me to graduate. Everybody knows that graduating from high school is like the pinnacle of milestones in a child's life. They have been looking forward to this day all of their lives. And so it was ruined. It was just really sabotaged by Dr. Henson and his administration. And so my son was getting all types of text messages from his classmates. He's a president. What's going on? He tried to schedule a meeting with Superintendent Henson. He had already spoke to the Principal John Inslee. John Inslee told him, look, Prayer, I wish I had more information for you, but far as I know, according to Henson, it's over. Y'all aren't gonna have, graduation, and there's nothing that I can do. Dr. Henson refused to meet with my son, who was the class president, and so the graduation was in effect canceled. And we still do not know why the graduation was actually canceled. So 6 days after that, it was the first week in June, I received my prayers transcript. Now, background on Prayer. Prayer has always been an honor student ever since elementary school. And he's attended, Marlin is not the only school that he has attended. He's attended, 5A, Tascasita High School is a 6A school, and he was taking advanced placement classes, always on the A and B honor roll. Very, I would say, very mature for his age, as others have described him, and as I know him to be, and that's because I have worked with other kids, and I'm just not saying that because he's my child, but I know that he's not a kid that's going to slack off. So when I got his transcript and I saw that his English transcript grade had been dropped from a 98 to a 76, and then his math grade was changed from a 90, it was a 97, I believe, to a 72. And this kid is about to graduate, and he was applying for scholarships. He was not chosen for. After his grades dropped, his GPA, of course, dropped. And so that knocked him out of the running, or being really competitive for scholarships that students tend to apply for in the summer. So Superintendent Henson will say that I have no control. When my husband met with him on June 1st to find out why our son's transcript grades had been lowered, his favorite phrase is, "I do not have the authority to change grades." But in effect, he does have the authority to direct to have someone to change the grades. So someone went into PEAMS, which is the grading system in Marlin, and changed our kids' GPA, changed their rank. And I am only left to believe that my son's grades were changed because out of retaliation for him being so vocal in advocating for his class, advocating for his
Brandalin,
classmates.
so this grade change happened when? We're talking end of May?
Yes,
Like the
it happened
school
after
year's almost over?
Yeah, it was over officially. I have the academic calendar, Marlin's academic calendar, and the last day of school, it was May 24th. Graduation was set to be May 25th. The grades changed 6 days after the official last day of school. I have yet to speak or find any educator, any counselor that I've known throughout my years on this earth to say that they have ever heard or experienced a school district changing grades, transcript grades, after the official last day of school. No. Even Miss Clifton, Denise Clifton, who is now a graduation auditor, a 26-year veteran counselor, and she's now an auditor for transcripts at Education Service Center Region 12 in Waco. She's a part-time auditor. The reputable reputation. She told me, she said, "I've never heard or experienced any school district of impacting kids the way that Marlin has impacted Prayer and Makia." And so my son was very hurt. He even though, being 18, he can't wrap his head around why would an adult in a professional setting, working around children day in and day out, harm academically and socio-emotionally harm us the way that Dr. Henson has done, he and his administration. I mean, why? And that is something that we still do not know. And then furthermore, my youngest son, who had nothing to do with the class of 2023, he was actually a freshman at Marlin. Fast forward 2 months after the last day of school, 2 months in July, on July the 23rd, Dr. Henson emailed me my youngest son's final report card, and he authorized his science grades to be changed from B's to 20s for each 6 weeks. And how can our children's report card grades not mirror their end of year transcripts and report cards? So now my son, who is a freshman, because we had our home on the market in Humble, and we were really contemplating, because I work from home remotely, and actually my husband, by him being a truck driver, his yard is closer to Stephenville. And so because of the flexibility in my job, we were contemplating, moving back home to get rid of, to get away from the hustle and bustle of the city. However, after what took place with Dr. Henson changing our kids' grades, and the relationship had really soured between he and I could tell it was in the best interest for us to take our home off the market and just move back. So now that my son is attending Atascocita High School, he's attending 1 credit short because he lost his science credit. So he's not on track to graduate with a distinguished diploma like my oldest son did, because basically Dr. Henson and Marlin ISD took that away from him. And he, being on, vacation, summer vacation, how do you explain to a 15-year-old that they failed science in July on summer vacation and he no longer has a science credit? And on top of that, my youngest son is a 504 student. He's protected. He has a 504 plan, has had a 504 plan since 2018. And so he has safeguards in place through the American Disabilities Act, through 504. And so his 504 plan had been working according to Marlin ISD all year. And so how is it that he failed in July? How is it that he failed science and the grades were changed from 80 to 20s for every 6 weeks? And then on top of that, his science teacher name was removed and replaced with a dead man's name, a man who had been, I don't even know, we've never met the guy that they swapped his teacher's name out with. His real teacher's name was Romance Taylor. Um, and they took his Romance Taylor's name off of as a science teacher and replaced it with Mr. Ibakwe. And my son nor I have ever met a Mr. Ibakwe, and come to find out, Mr. Ibakwe had passed away uh, before. I don't know exactly when he passed away, but he's no longer alive, and that was disrespectful to his life to use his name like that.
This is just shocking. Like anybody watching this video, I can't believe it. It's cooking the books. Like these changes, obviously this is not legitimate. It's a retaliation that you would think as a parent, there's got to be some traceability here. You've got to be able to see in the system where this stuff was changed. If you had report cards going along and then all of a sudden it's changing, but who is this person that has so much power to retaliate against parents? I mean, you guys both of you have these amazing, driven, successful children, and then you're being harmed by the system.
Exactly.
I'm just shocked.
Yes,
And we have documentation. We have our documentation.
then these are government documents, you know what I mean? Transcripts and diploma. If they were not able to graduate May 24th, then why does they diplomas still say May 24th. If you're saying that they wasn't ready and they supposed to graduate June 22nd, why is not June 22nd on their diplomas?
Yeah.
So it goes back to show that you're messing with documents, government documents. And that's scary from a parent's point of view, because we're supposed to trust in this, and we're supposed to take this to Texas A&M and other places like that, and they're supposed to verify that this is true. But when you get on national TV and you tell the world that only 5 are able to graduate, and we graduate June 22nd, but their diplomas still say May 24th.
Something it's definitely not right. So Brandalin, how has this affected your son now?
Well, it has affected my youngest son the most because he suffers with anxiety, depression since 2018. And he was already seeing a therapist since then. And so luckily we had a therapist in place when this happened, because it increased his anxiety, his self-esteem, and thinking that he's done something wrong. And we have to constantly reassure him that he did nothing wrong. He did everything right. And sometimes there are bad adults in the world that hurt kids, because he was hurt. He hurt him academically. He hurt him emotionally, socially. My son, because he has my youngest son, Adai, has tic disorder, ADHD, in addition to anxiety, depression disorder. And so all of that uh, made him even more depressed. And so his therapist really helped us to keep him encouraged. Keep him encouraged, and realizing that there are some very, very bad, that adults do bad things too. It doesn't matter if they have doctor in front of their name. It doesn't matter that he's the face of a school district, and teachers and educators are still held in high regard, by us kids, especially our children who respect authority. Monica and our children are very respectful of authority. They enjoy school. School is thought to be a safe place, but last year it ended up not being a safe place academically for our children. And so Adai is at the time he was 14, 15 now. That's still hard for him to grapple with and come to terms with. Now I'm not on track to get the distinguished diploma. I have to now meet with a counselor and set a time up, and we got to work with credit recovery. And he has his report card showing that he had earned a B in science for the year. But in July, Dr. Henson emails me this new report card showing that he has all 20s in science. And I can only think that was to basically as a gut punch me, to hurt me, because I am continuing on with the process of the level 3, going through the process, the district process. Now, mind you, June, when we first became aware that he changed my oldest son's grade, I tried to find the process for filing a complaint online. I couldn't. It was not there. So I filed a complaint with TEA. I reached out to Garrett Black, and he actually emailed me the link where I could file a complaint. I filed the complaint, but then I got an email saying that I needed to go through, that they were closing it because I needed to go through the local process. And so that's what we're doing. We're going through the local process. I've even tried um to appeal to our board members, but Dr. Henson has so much control over the board, and that's where that inspector general will come in very handy when you have rogue superintendents that abuse their power in such a way where it harms kids, like it has harmed not only our children but the class of 2023. They lost that experience that they'll never get back. They'll never get that moment back. And for what? We don't know. But when you have a rogue superintendent, the effects are ripple. There's ripple effects. That's why we need help immediately, because we want people to rally around our kids at Marlin, like they would rally around the highest performing school district in Texas. Um, because they are worthy. Our kids are worthy of the support. And it's just really disheartening. It's really disheartening for me being in a school district that is actually working to benefit. Now, Humble ISD has won many awards for excellence in education, and my youngest is getting an opportunity to experience how a school is supposed to work for children, and having experience comparing Marlin to what he's experiencing now. My heart bleeds for the students in Marlin because I know that they deserve better. And
They
I
do.
just want to be a clarion cause to try to do whatever I can to get a system in place. If that's Inspector General pleading, begging to Greg Abbott, whomever that make the laws, or if TEA is a conservator, if that's Mike Morath, I'm pleading to you, please help our students. We need help. We need caring, empathetic leaders who knows how to work with the community, who respect students and who respect our parents and value and believe in them. And so it's been a roller coaster. But I do know that if the inspector general would help soften the blow if we had someone who could stand and intercede between the parents and the administration, and look at the evidence, look at the documentation from an objective standpoint. That way our children can get justice.
Mm. Well, you are both amazing mama bears here, defending and protecting your children. And I'm really sorry that you've gone through this, but I really believe that sharing your story is going to help us to enact positive change. So thank you so much.
Christine,
Um,
Christine, can
of
I just
course.
add, if and
Yes.
if this is heard by anybody in the legislation that we have in Texas, maybe an education committee, I would love to work with someone on a bill that would stop or prevent the changing of student grades after the last day of school. No school should ever have the authority to lower students' grades after the last day of school in Texas or anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. You are correct. All right. Well, thank you both so very much